If it's not, then now start thinking about the car and the phone. That's now 30 hours, that's almost a whole week of work just to pay for a car and a phone. And then we've convinced ourselves, well, because you have to have them to live in our society right now. Well, yeah, if you want to be like everybody else, you do, I suppose. But if you don't want, if that isn't your goal, if that isn't your metaphysical goal to be like everybody else, if that's not the thing that you need, well, then maybe don't do it. But it's the thing I want. Okay, but understand that that's exactly the point. It's your wants that are making you miserable. It's not your needs that are making you miserable. It's your wants. And then you start to realize that you can't get out of that rat race because you've piled up so many bills, and now you have to work. And then now you're doing what you have to do, not what you want to do. And you sure as hell aren't doing what you need.
Can you use the Buddhist perspective?
The Buddhist perspective?
Can you
Yeah, oh man, I was about to.
Do you actually have one?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
You want the Buddhist perspective?
Yeah, I want it.
Okay. So the problem with your life right now is that you're so caught up on the things that you want and the things that you need. And so the problem is like think about the suffering of your life. What makes you so sad? I don't have the car that I want, or I don't have the money that I want. If I don't have the person, the significant other that I want. If I had those things, then I would be happy. I could just be happy. But what you're missing in your life though is that what causes you so much suffering is not your lack of stuff. What causes you so much suffering is your desire for stuff. Because if you get a new car, how long is that car going to be a thing that makes you happy? Until you see a better car? Until the new model comes out next year? You know, it's like your phone. How long does your phone make you happy for? Oh, until the new model comes out. And the new model has like an extra like quarter pixel on your phone. And I go, man, my life would be so much better if I could just get clearer selfies. If I could film those fireworks in a higher definition video on 4th of July. You know? The more that you put your desires, so the more that you pursue your desires in life, the less happy you're going to be, because your desires are always going to be constantly changing and shifting and moving. You can never hold on to them. You might be able to attain them for just a short while, but you can never hold on to them, which means that you can never hold on to joy or happiness, which means that you're going to be living your entire life constantly and perpetually unsatisfied. And then you wonder why it is that people will get to middle age and just be like, I don't feel like I belong, or I don't feel like I've satisfied with my life. I feel like I haven't done what I could have done, because our perspective is so screwed up. We think that what we need to do is achieve things and get stuff. When in actuality, the real way to contentment and happiness, and maybe even, contentment, joy, and maybe even happiness, is to get rid of those desires. Here's what I mean. If you have a car and you can be content with your car, you can sit in traffic surrounded by Porsches and Mercedes and not be bothered one single minute that you don't have one of those things. It's that, I wish I had that makes you dissatisfied with your life. Learn to love what you have. Learn how to shut off all of that extra desire. And then what you're going to find is that everything that you get is what you need. In other words, if you get rid of all the things that you want, then you're going to only be left with the things that you need. And that frees you up so much in your life. You know, in other words, you could go get that job that will earn you enough money to be content. And then when your boss offers you a promotion, says, hey, I'm going to move you into management, and you're going to earn $100,000 a year, but you're going to work an extra 10 hours a week. No thanks, I'm good. But it's more money. I don't want more money. I'm content with what I have. But it's more prestige. I have no desire for prestige. I don't, because you move into management because you want prestige. Well, who has more prestige than you? The owner. There's always someone with more prestige. So no, I don't want those things. Yeah, but you'll have more. Did I mention the money? And that gives you a tremendous power in life, by the way. When you no longer pursue things and want things, because that's one of the ways that you're going to find that people will control you in life. They'll control you because they're going to dangle these little things in front of you that you want. And then if they can get you to pursue those things, then they can control your behavior. And by the way, it works the same way in terms of negativity. If you don't, if you say you have a boss who says, I need you to work on Sunday. Oh, I don't, I have plans I'm really looking forward to. Well, plans have changed, I need you to work on Sunday. I won't be here. Well, then I'm gonna dock your pay. Okay. Because that thing matters more to you than the money does. It limits people's ability to control you. It makes you freer. So one of the ways that you become free, interestingly enough, is to let go of that control that people have over you, which means to let go of your desires, to let go of your wants. Then your entire life is nothing about what it is that you want, it's about what you need. And then it turns out at the end of that what you want is exactly what it is that you need. You can get those two things in alignment. I just want contentment. And because I want contentment, I'm satisfied with the car that I have, and the car that I have is the car that I need. I don't want to have, I want to be content. So therefore, I'm content with my small house or my small apartment or whatever. And it turns out that because I want contentment and that apartment provides that, it turns out to be exactly the thing that I need. So you can get what you want in life, what you need in life in accord. Well, this is how you reach joy. If you're a Buddhist. Yes, sir.
I have like two more questions.
Okay. We have time.
So for a Buddhist, I see like the suggesting another world thing as like another way of saying like clinging onto the future for like a sense of hope. But I think clinging onto it too hard will only give you a sense of disillusion in a way where like you look to the future because you're like, oh, I'm gonna be like successful, or like I'm gonna be more independent, I'm gonna have what I want. But then you hear the common theme of like kids saying like I should have lived in the moment, I should have like embraced being young. But then with like being a Buddhist, you say you said that like it's about being content with what you have and like accepting like the moment and now, or like the moment and now. But where's the line where being content makes you too complacent with what you have and then you lose your drive to gain more? Or is that like situational?
Oh, you would never have that desire to gain more. In other words, complacency is only a vice if we're living in a culture or a society that says that we should always want more. In other words, like if you have like like you're driving like a '87 Mitsubishi Mirage, and people will look at your car and be like, God, don't you want more for your life? And you say, no, it gets me where I want to go. That's the function. That's the purpose of the car. Because as soon as I get a more expensive car, what happens? Well, now I have to work more. It means I have a car payment, which means I can't just quit my job if I wanted to. You enslave yourself to that. And if you look at the things that you have in life, a lot of the things that we have in life, ironically enough, are the things that we become slaves to. And by the way, when you hear people talk about life after high school, this is what they say, right? Oh man, you should enjoy this time right now. Why? Because then you go into the real world. And what's the real world like? What's the first thing that people oftentimes say?
Hard.
Hard? Well, why? You guys tell me, when people complain about the real world, why do they complain about it? What do they say is so hard about it?
A lot of responsibilities.
Yeah, what kind of responsibilities?
Work.
Why work?
You get fired.
Yeah, and what do you care if you get fired though? Why do you have to work?
Money.
Money. That's usually what they say. Bills, man, you gotta pay bills. Money only matters to people who pay their bills. In other words, the level of work you have to do is going to be connected to how much stuff you want to have. What's making you unhappy is not the stuff that you have. What's making you unhappy is that you pursue the stuff that you don't have. I have to work all this extra. Why? Because I really want that car. So you're trading your life, literally, you're trading your lifetime for a car, for a thing to drive around. You're trading your lifetime. That's interesting, isn't it? You trade your lifetime to buy a new phone, which is going to do nothing except for suck away your lifetime. That's interesting, isn't it? And then we build a society around that says you can't get by without a phone. You have to have a phone. You can't live in the modern world without a phone. I mean, think about if you meet someone who doesn't have social media. You don't have social media. What are you, a serial killer? Yeah, if you've met somebody who doesn't have I just met somebody last Thursday, who has a flip phone, like an old style flip phone with and he said he used to have an iPhone. He said, yeah, I just traded it in. I got a flip phone. He's like, I've never been happier. He still gets basic text messaging, but that's pretty much it. There's nothing to browse on his phone. So he's only living kind of in this world. And it's neat because it wasn't like this criticism of, too many people this or that. No. But how much is his payment a month for his phone versus how much everybody else's is? I mean, if your phone is costing you $100 a month, and you're earning $20 an hour, you have to work 5 hours a week, 5 hours a month extra just to pay for that phone. Now you can decide, is 5 hours of your life worth having this? And of course, the answer for most people is yes. Now think about everything else in your life. How much, if your car payment is, I don't know, $500 a month, and you're earning $20 an hour, think about how many hours, 25 hours a month, is geared specifically towards buying, paying off that car. Is that worth 25 hours of your lifetime? If it is, by all means. If it's not, then now start thinking about the car and the phone. That's now 30 hours, that's almost a whole week of work just to pay for a car and a phone. And then we've convinced ourselves, well, because you have to have them to live in our society right now. Well, yeah, if you want to be like everybody else, you do, I suppose. But if you don't want, if that isn't your goal, if that isn't your metaphysical goal to be like everybody else, if that's not the thing that you need, well, then maybe don't do it. But it's the thing I want. Okay, but understand that that's exactly the point. It's your wants that are making you miserable. It's not your needs that are making you miserable. It's your wants. And then you start to realize that you can't get out of that rat race because you've piled up so many bills, and now you have to work. And then now you're doing what you have to do, not what you want to do. And you sure as hell aren't doing what you need to do. Yeah.
So I get the materialistic side of like Buddhism, but then what about like being content with what you have? That doesn't apply to like challenge and stuff, right? It's like I feel like there's a question of like how would you balance out not letting go of opportunity, whereas like you're covering it with just being content with what you have.
Opportunity suggests want.
But like wanting to grow as a person though? What about that?
The way that you grow as a person is to grow inward, not outward. You grow content with yourself, you grow confident with yourself, you grow fully as a person. I mean, really think about it. Like, what is a person? Well, we're physical needs, sure, but we're different from every other animal. Your cat, your dog, your parakeet, they all have to eat, drink, sleep. They all have to do these things. They all have, nature has set a quota for all of these things. But there's something about us as humans where we exist not just in this external physical world, but we also have this inward world. In other words, our world of thoughts, our world of interests, our worlds of desires. And the conflict comes when we combine these things, and then the inward world starts to desire the things of the outward world, and then vice versa. In other words, this is why you get billionaires who later in their life start giving away all their money. Why? Because they realize that having all that money hasn't made them happy. It hasn't made them content. In fact, and this is not a slam against rich people, I'm saying certain ones, like you look at someone like Mark Zuckerberg, and unless Mark Zuckerberg is a psychopath, I don't know how he wakes up every day realizing that his application has made the world a worse place. That every major study that we've ever done on it says it has messed up an entire generation of young people around the world. It's increased y'all's suicide. People are dead because of his application. People have literally literally killed themselves, murdered themselves because of what's happened through that medium. They'd be alive today, but for Facebook. It's sapped away people's attention, withdrawn them from the real world. It's led to higher levels of anxiety and depression. This is all indisputable. Study after study after study shows all of this. And this is a guy who creates an app who says himself he would never let his own kids use it. But he has no problem marketing it to you guys and to the rest of the world. Isn't that interesting? Like the people who what's his name? Steve Cook, is it, from Apple, would never give his kids an iPad. He'll market it to you guys, no problem, to other people's children. But he has said himself, and Jack Dorsey, who used to run Twitter, he said he would never let his own kids be on Twitter. And he's got no problem marketing it to other people. Now, these people have made billions and billions and billions of dollars by knowingly making the world a worse place and significantly and irreparably, in most cases, damaging people's lives. And yet they sit there with their billions in their mansions, and at some point, that cognitive dissonance hits them, and they're like, I think I'm the bad guy. So what do? They now turn around and they start giving away all their money to try to solve the problems of the world. Not truly, because if they really want to solve the problems of the world, what would they do? Well, they'd withdraw their apps and destroy all the data and close them all down and just tell people stop doing this. So they don't feel that bad about it, that they would actually try to do something to make the world a better place. Instead, they start giving away their money to try to fix the problems that their applications have created. Why? Because that external drive for power and for money and for influence, they realize has left them empty at the end. Because we're not just this, we're both of these things. You're a physical thing, you're also a metaphysical thing. You're a thing that has a mind and a body. You're both. Your dog, your cat, they just have a body. They don't think about the things that we think about. But we do. And that's what creates a lot of times this cognitive dissonance in us. As soon as you can get those things in alignment, the things you want, the things that you need, the things that are important to you, figure out what they are, and then live in accord with the things that are important to you. And I mean not like just gut level reaction, like, I want this. No, think about it. Why do I want this? What am I really after? What's the core thing I'm desiring here? You know, I want a job. Why? Because I want stability. How do I achieve stability? Make myself less unstable. In other words, stop buying so much stuff that forces me to work. That's what creates my high levels of anxiety. I go to work so much, I hate doing it. You'll be surprised how much you will love work when you don't have to do it. And we have to do it less. It's like school. Why do we like our electives so much? Are they so much more interesting than our regular classes? Not really. But it's because we put that word elective in it. Now all of a sudden it's like, I get to choose? Yeah. Oh, if I get to choose, then yeah, I'll do this other thing. And we like the stuff that we get to choose because it makes us feel like we have some level of power and control. The more power and control you give over of your life by buying a bunch of stuff and then having to work and forcing, and basically, like I said, selling your lifetime to pay for that stuff, the less you're going to enjoy it, the less you're going to enjoy that stuff even. So that doesn't mean not to buy expensive cars. It doesn't mean not to buy expensive houses. It just means buy the stuff that you can afford, not the stuff that you now have to mortgage your life to pay for and give away lifetime to pay for.
Would you have a direction you could go in a Satanist perspective?
Absolutely, of course. Satanist or Luciferian?
What's the difference?
I'm afraid to tell you because I think I'll know which one you'll pick. We'll just go with Satanism. The Satanist perspective. The Luciferian perspective might damage some people, so I won't give that one. But the Satanist perspective, the distinction is that Luciferians are people who look at like the Bible and they say, oh, Lucifer, Satan, yeah, that's our God. That's the one we worship. That's a different perspective. A Satanist is one who doesn't really believe in God or the devil or any of that. They're atheists. But to them, Satan represents something, which is a spirit of rebellion, a spirit of self-indulgence. And so that's their philosophy. It's a philosophy of self-indulgence, not a philosophy of worshiping the actual devil, if that makes sense. So it's a misleading title. And so I'll do a couple of minutes for it. So make sure we throw this on video and you guys can all send your parents, look, we learned about Satanism in class today. my English teacher taught us to be Satanists. A Satanist perspective is going to be, there's this distinction between the physical world and the metaphysical world. Now you'll have people who will come along and talk to you about how this metaphysical world is distinguished between the things that we need. But the fact of the matter is that there isn't really this soul thing that we think that we carry around. It's a mind. And your mind is geared towards the things in life that you desire. That's telling you something. that the things that you want are your metaphysical desires. That is the real you. The problem is that we live in a society and in a culture that tells us that you shouldn't want the things that you want. You ever been arguing with somebody and they come along and then like they'll tell you, hey, just, don't be mad. Does that ever work? It's like, hey, just, don't feel the way you feel. But the reason that you feel the way that you feel is because that is the actual real you. And so when you manifest these desires in your life, that's the real you yearning out. And so think about the things in your life that you want to do. But then you've got this, of course, this society that's telling you, no, you shouldn't do these things. You shouldn't indulge in these things. You shouldn't want the things that you want. That's the thing that creates the anxiety in your life. It's not the other way around. All those things in your life that you want to do, that the primary thing is first and foremost, in fact, it's the only real rule, which is to do what you want as long as you don't harm other people. And so, in other words, you can't walk down the street and say, oh, hey, I want to, shoot this person in the head, and that's my inner desire, so therefore I should do it. No, that's harming other people. But everything else in life that you want, do whatever you want, as long as you don't harm other people. What's really harming you is not the things that you want. What's really harming you is a society that's telling you, no, you shouldn't want this thing. No, you shouldn't pursue this thing. I don't know where the heck it is that people get off and come along and say, oh, it's up to us to tell you all how to behave. Selfishness isn't living the way that you want to live. Selfishness is expecting other people to live the way that you want them to live. And that's what creates these anxieties and these depressions in you. As soon as you can start to let go of society telling you what to do and stop caring, because that's really what it comes down to. It's a society that has the same desires as you, by the way. Sex, drugs, and music. They have all the same desires that you have. They just don't have the courage to pursue them. So how is it that you rise above that? Well, you rise above the rest of humanity, which is basically just sheep anyway. They're all having to come together to convince themselves because they're afraid of those inner darknesses, as they call it. But what it really is just their inner fears. They're afraid of what they might do if they really fully express themselves and pursue the things that they want. Because maybe they're afraid they aren't going to get it. Maybe that's their weakness. Or maybe their weakness is just like I said, this kind of like slave morality that tells them you shouldn't want those things. But it's such a weird thing to come along and tell people like you shouldn't want the things that you want. Why not? And why shouldn't you want power? Why shouldn't you want money? Why shouldn't you want status? That sounds like poor, low status people trying to tell you shouldn't want to be above them. But you should want to be above them because you are better than them. Because they are afraid to pursue the things in life that they want. If you're not afraid to pursue those things, then you are better than them. And you do deserve to get the things in life that you want. Stop worrying about the things that you want, because the things that you want are the things that you need. So go get them. That's what Satanist would say. Anton LaVey was a very famous Satanist. Aleister Crowley, those are the two. Others? So now you're all properly Buddhists and Satanists. All right, those will make it to YouTube, no doubt.